Hello, friends, and welcome to Worldbuild with us, the podcast where we create fantastical worlds with help from you, our listener. My listener, singular listener,
Just the one. No.
just the single.
Yeah.
Guys, this is how we're rolling and starting this episode today. It's a mess already. Oh, God. Anyway, thank you, individual listener, for joining us here on the World Build with Us podcast. We do, in fact, create fantastical worlds with help from you, all of our listeners. I am here joined, as always, by my co-hosts, Daniel Quinn and Courtney Staples. Thank you all so much for listening. Oh boy, I hope this isn't indicative of how the rest of this episode is going to go. On today's episode, we are doing our semi-annual or seasonal, I suppose. Yeah, let's go with seasonal. We're doing a seasonal world building jam where we roll some dice and create scenarios based on those dice rolls. But before we get into it, remember that if you want us to build your world, you can always go to our website, worldbuildwithus.com, click the link, follow the instructions, and within a reasonable amount of time, we'll be building your world. If you want to follow us on social media, we're over on Twitter at Let's World Build. Or if you want to talk to us more directly, you can come and join our Discord with the link for that in the description. Come chat with us about how much of a train wreck this episode is already, or your favorite world building prompt, or you can come share your own world, get some critiques, feedback, all that other good stuff. And of course, if you're feeling particularly generous, you can always go to our Patreon, where you get access to patron-only goodies like patron-only episodes, early episodes, double-length prompt episodes, among other things that I'm forgetting currently. But you can go ahead and join our Patreon by clicking the link in the description or by going to our website as per usual. And a big thank you to all of our patrons for your continued support. So anyway, without further ado, let's dive right into our first world building jam session. So for those of you who are listening for the first time, welcome. But also, the way that this particular episode works is that we have a series of random tables. We're going to roll some dice that are going to determine what our genre, theme, and the first thing we're focusing on are going to be, and then we kind of have to just build worlds based on those prompts. It's very loosey-goosey, it's very fun, and I always find that we come up with really interesting worlds this way. So, without further ado, let's get to rolling. The genre we're rolling with is dark fantasy. Okay, we've got some grimdark nonsense, and the theme that we're rolling with is going to be... Our theme this time is secrets. And the first thing that we're going to be focusing on is the rise of a new era. So our genre is dark fantasy. Our theme is secrets. And the first thing we're focusing on is the rise of a new era. So, Daniel, start us off today. What are your first ideas surrounding this particular jam?
If I am indeed starting us off, my my first thought is that it
Guys, fear and paranoia are weapons, and you should know how to use them. I'm just tossing that out there. Continue on, Daniel. What do you got for us?
If I'm indeed starting, my first thought is some new rulership or monarchy, or it doesn't have to necessarily be like a monarchy, but some new sovereignty coming to power in a way that is secretly illegitimate and therefore starting a new era.
I don't know why my brain immediately went to oligarchy. Or I'm sorry, not oligarchy. What's the actually, fuck it. Yeah, let's do oligarchy. No one ever does an oligarchy in their medieval world, right? Or dark fantasy world. So yeah, let's do an oligarchy. That's fun. What do we got?
So it's like a small, ultra powerful group that's working in the background, basically.
Yeah, effectively. I don't know why my brain went this way, but I'm thinking like a mercantile group is secretly behind the scenes,
I was thinking that too, if it's like guild leaders from various guilds who are actually in control, puppeteering stuff.
Yeah.
So like a coronation, and that this has been precipitated by the small group.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, hold on. Yes, and the way that the coronation happened is that the monarchy, the kind of ceremonial, I guess, monarchy is literally bought and sold. So
Yeah.
Mm.
you buy your way into power through like the rise of a new monarch or new leader or something like that.
Is that known or is it a secret thing?
It is entirely secret within this
Okay.
small mercantile guild or
Okay.
group or something like that.
So it's like you basically buy your way into the royal family, more or less?
More or less, yeah. I
Okay.
think that's pretty
Yeah.
accurate.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and then there's kind of like an unspoken deal that like I think that there's got to be some kind of like secondary. There's like the functional ruler of the family, and they're like, listen, we're for sale here, folks. Like you tell us what to do, and we enact that policy, no problem. You know. So
Mhm.
there's someone who's facilitating the sale, and that's like perhaps an older monarch or like maybe a cousin of the royalty or something like
Mhm.
that.
Someone
Mhm.
lower in the ranking, like publicly visible, but actually the
Right.
one who's brokering the deal.
Exactly. It's like
Mhm.
they're the real ones with power because they're the
Mhm.
broker.
Yeah.
Now, is the oligarch literally being bought into the family, or is it that their purchase gives them control over this monarchy?
I think I'm looking at it like it's a sponsorship essentially, right? Where whoever like gets the winning bid, so to speak, is
Mhm.
like placed upon the throne. And then like the story for the cover up is whatever it needs to be. So there's entire fictions of like family history of like, oh, there's internal civil war. Oh, there's a scandal. And it's all manufactured for the ability to get whoever they want on the throne.
Yeah. I could also see it being like a divine right sort of bullshit, like,
Oh,
oh, like
yeah. Yeah.
the god has like smiled upon this person from this random family. He's going to be our king now. And obviously, it was behind the scenes. It was all just purchased.
That's kind of fun too, actually. I
Yeah.
like that.
So just to clarify, though, we're saying that the purchase literally puts a person from the oligarchy into the throne, as opposed to them having influence over the actual monarchs.
I'm open to interpretation for that. I imagine that there's probably exceptions to what we're talking about here, where it's like it's supposed to be, this kind of oh, actually, maybe that's the rise of the new era. Hear me out, right?
Mhm.
Maybe that's how it always has been, where everyone's ruled from the shadows, where it's like
Oh,
when
I
you
see.
purchase someone,
Mhm.
it means that you're buying their influence. But this
Right.
most
Mhm.
recent iteration is no, I'm going to put myself on the throne here, right?
Yeah, I like
And
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Mhm.
what that does in terms of tension is
Yeah.
you're creating like you're giving away the game, like don't do
You're
this.
compromising the whole
Yeah,
operation,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
And so, like,
exactly.
Mhm.
because whether they're hubris, that person's hubris, or whatever reason they want to be in the front and have a face, they're compromising a legacy of corruption that goes back who
Right.
knows how long, you
And
know?
Mhm.
secrecy, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
absolutely.
This makes me think of the young pope. It I think happens in the first
Yeah.
episode where there's an election for a new pope and
Mhm.
there's all this scheming going on behind the scenes, but because of the way that people vote, somebody that they didn't really intend to become the pope actually becomes the pope, and everybody's like, "Wait, what the fuck just happened?"
Uh-huh.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, this is pretty interesting already because now
Mhm.
we've got like courtly intrigue kind of front and center, which I love. I'm a big fan. And considering that this is dark fantasy, like how do we bring in the dark aspect? Like, yeah, we have political corruption, but that's not inherently dark, right? That's just kind of part of a normal world setting, right?
Yep.
So
Mhm.
how do we take this and make it dark? Courtney, you can't say blood or blood sacrifice. So
Well, I'm all out of ideas. I can't.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Hmm.
let's go something. I would like to hear me out, right? I feel like we're already too close to some real world conspiratorial nonsense. So if we could stay away from literal child sacrifice and make it about something else, I would really prefer that because that sounds more interesting anyway to me.
Yeah, I was thinking if we could focus more on like this secret thing and like have
Mhm.
that be, I don't know, part of the magic of their system. Like by giving up secrets, you sort of give part of yourself to another person, and they have some
Mm.
level of control over you.
Ooh, maybe everyone in the oligarchy has to give their secrets to each other. So there's like, what do you call it?
It's like a
Everyone has
blackmail.
leverage against each other. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Which I guess is
Oh,
also pretty similar to real life stuff.
But
yeah, yeah.
magically, but
But
magically.
magically, yes.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, maybe there's some kind of like magically obscuring effect as well, kind of like a masquerade almost, right?
Mm.
Where this is actually kind of like Waterdeep, right? Where there are 7 masked lords, and it's to protect people from just being openly assassinated and stuff like that.
Oh,
So maybe to add like an extra layer to the kind of courtly intrigue, maybe the one secret that people have is like who is actually part of the council, you know? And maybe that's
mm.
why the broker is allowed to be so powerful, is because they're the one who kind of knows who they're dealing with, right? Like that's where the power really lies.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And yeah, maybe it's some sort of like naming magic or something where like it literally gives you control over somebody if you know who they are and
Mm.
like where they come from, something like that.
Interesting. And is this magic itself a secret? Because I'm thinking like if this
Mm.
group is wielding this, right? Like then let me put it this way, right? If people know that secrets are magic and secrets are power, then they're going to be hunting for it every chance that they can
Mhm.
possibly get. But if this sect of magic is based entirely on secrets and the general public doesn't know about it, that makes it all the more effective as a manipulation device and as like a
Yeah.
literary device as well.
It would be interesting to me if the magic has some restriction that makes it not able to be widespread. There's
Uh-huh.
a reason why this small oligarchy either has control over it, or they're the only ones who use it,
Mhm.
or that it's difficult to use outside of that. Just because I feel like there's something about this setting that's suggesting to me something more in the direction of low fantasy when it comes to magic
Mm.
than
Oh yeah.
than
Yeah, I can
high
see what you mean.
Mhm.
fantasy with lots of magic. Whereas like
Mhm.
this might be the only magical thing about the setting.
I wonder if it's like the god of secrets is also a greedy god and they sort of
Mhm.
ply it with their material wealth or like their wealth
Oh,
makes them
that's
more
good.
powerful in the eyes of the god or something like that.
Oh, how about this? Okay, hold on. I've got an idea. What if you spend enough money, you obscure your name? So like knowing people's names is where like the magic, like because I know your name, Courtney, right? Like it's kind of a
Mhm.
necessity of public life, right? So what happens if you pay this god of secrets, and what ends up happening is they erase your name from like the world.
Mhm.
So you literally cannot be known, and that is a way that you are able to manipulate magic. Now what ends up happening, of course, is you kind of create this intense world of paranoia and isolation. And also the wealth accumulation is also a really important aspect to it as well, right? But what do we think about something like that? I think that that can be kind of a cool conceit to the way that magic might work.
Can you reiterate that again?
Sure. So effectively, what's happening is everyone has a name, right? Monarchs have names. Daniel, you have a name. So we all know each other's names, right?
Yeah.
And in this world, names and identities have power. That is literally where we are exuding magic effectively,
Mhm.
right? So what the rich do is that they will pay money to this god of secrets to
Oh, okay.
obscure their name to the world
Mhm.
itself. So their identity is effectively erased. And when that happens, they are then able to express magic, right? Because their name is no longer out there, and their name is power, and their power is now their own.
So I like that because that could mean that the magic is like this illusory magic, because it
Yes.
suggests to me that
Mhm.
when you've erased your name, you become invisible in a way. And so
Mm.
Mhm.
like it's almost like the god that you've paid this price to has turned you into smoke, and now you can kind of move
Yeah.
around in a way that
Mhm.
other people can't see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that sort of image too, or the idea of like if your name had been written down previously, it starts to blur, or if people
Mhm.
are trying to refer to you, they just like cannot think of your name for some reason and they don't know why.
Right. And then eventually your identity, your name eventually slips from the minds of those who try to
Mhm.
recollect it, you know?
Yeah.
Imagine trying to remember your mother's face and you can't because
Mhm.
it's been erased. And then, like, what does that do to that person, right? Like, I
Yeah.
imagine that there are people out there who are afflicted by these, like, did I do that? And then it's like actually just the machinations of some invisible person, and then the guilt that
Mhm.
they feel is their own, stuff like that. I
Yeah.
think that this is potentially pretty rich for like what we can do with the setting.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is like the oligarchs probably all have fake names who they operate under, right?
Oh yeah, it's all code names, 100%.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
very Rumpelstiltskin.
Ooh, actually, I'm literally holding a deck of tarot cards right now, and I'm
Mhm.
like, "Oh, yeah," you can just pull one out, and it's like, "Oh, this is the Hanged Man," or, "Oh, this is the Priestess." Like, there we go. You've got, like, names of power right there. Ooh, oh, hold on. Is the name you adopt the expression of your magical power? Is that what it is as well? So, you erase your name and take on a more magical one or something like that.
Yeah, or like the god like whispers to you in a dream and gives you a new
Mm.
name.
And then that name is, like, how you express power?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
cool.
too the idea that if the name is your identity and your identity is your power, right? And by giving money to this god, you've extinguished your identity. That this magic is arising in almost in the absence of your soul, in a sense, right?
Yeah.
So you're this vessel for some other power now.
It does feel like we're like it's an allegory for selling your soul to the devil, but without the devil
Right.
part. Yeah.
Or
Right,
being
yeah.
empty, like having no fundamental meaning. Like there's no ground truth to you anymore.
Mhm.
Right. You're kind of signing the devil's book as well, right? Like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what you're
Mhm.
effectively doing.
Or it's like, what is that god gonna do with all these identities once it's accumulated a
Right.
certain amount?
Right, exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's just in the afterlife, whatever. I have an entire army of souls, whatever, no
Yeah.
big deal. It's fine, guys.
Yeah.
Just
Or,
gonna crash the gates of heaven, no problem."
yeah, it'll be fine. You also, brought up, like, forgetting your mother's face before, and that would really be bizarre when it comes to family dynamics, and, like, if you have this really wealthy person who goes through this process, and then their entire family no longer knows who they are, and, like,
Mhm.
what that does to the family units, and how that splits people apart and changes them over time. I feel like it would just have a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
ripple effects.
Oh, yeah, and you'd have, like, incidental incest stories as well,
Mm.
right? Where
Yep.
it's just like, "I don't know why I'm attracted to this person, but it's like your dad," or something gross like that.
Oh
And it's
god.
like yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And mind you, really, like, the person who's adopted a new moniker, they still know. So it's all on them. Like, they are the ones who are
Mm.
truly in control and in
Oh,
power here, So it's not like they
yep.
erase their own identity. It's like, "You are my uncle or father or brother." I can't remember which, but, like, either way, like, something like that. Or actually, do we want oh, well, this kinda reminds me of that thing that Daniel brought up, the experiment where it's like, the only way to achieve true equality is through pure anonymity, right? So maybe when you take on this moniker, do you I don't know. There is something appealing here, and bear with me here as I kind of work this out. There is something that's kind of appealing to the idea that this person maintains their identity. So like there's power in that and they're able to wield power. There's
Mhm.
simultaneously something interesting about the fact that they themselves forget their own name given enough time. What do y'all think about that kind of setup?
I kind of prefer the former where they still know who they are
Mhm,
slash who they were because I feel like that does make it
mhm.
darker in the sense of
Yeah.
like you said, they knowingly enter into like an incestuous relationship or they knowingly fuck over somebody who used to be their best friend. I feel like that
Yeah.
works well with just the idea of power corrupting.
Like if there's court intrigue, their legacies are hugely part of it. So I think like
Yeah, that's
them
true.
knowing who they are, like in one sense, they haven't really lost their identity, despite that the magic is saying they have. Like they know who they are. And if anything, what's really happening, at least at a narrative point of view, is like they are affirming their identity more so than anyone else. Because not only are they saying, I'm willing to violate everything I stand for, but I stand for these horrible things, by committing to them. So it's like the story is telling us one thing from the perspective of the magic, like they've given up their identity to control others, but really
Mhm.
they're pinning themselves down even more as a terrible person. So-
Right. Yeah, because they can never go back from that. Like,
Mhm.
once they've made this deal with the god, like, that's it.
Right, they essentially think that they're buying their freedom, right?
Mhm.
And then what that does as well is that it shows you who that person really is. Like, if you are free from consequence, who are you really? Because
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
so much of
Exactly.
our own identity is made up of social contracts and like kind of the relation to the world. And when that's gone, if you're just like a pure asshole, then it's like, oh, I was like a really righteous man in my, in my real life. And all of a sudden it's like, no, that's not who I am actually. And that's kind of an interesting, approach to the whole idea, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, I think that we've talked about this setting enough that it's time that we toss in a twist and see what this twist does for our dark political intrigue world that's got all sorts of backstabbing and literal identity politics in it. So let's go ahead and roll the die for the twist. And the twist for this setting is oh my god. Motherfucker. Add dinosaurs.
What? Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh, come on.
This is like a Dinotopia kind of thing.
I don't fucking know, man. Like,
are the people the dinosaurs?
it's literally the 90s sitcom Dinosaurs.
Yes.
Just let's take it at face value for a second and consider what dinosaurs are. Like if we're gonna take it literally or metaphorically. Like metaphorically, okay, I can see this still going somewhere. Metaphorically, dinosaurs are relics. They're things that have been on Earth that tell us about the past and some disaster that happened in the past and what could become of us in the future. I think this is suggesting that that perhaps there is an older sect, kind of like in Suspiria, where there's like an even older, more evil witch. Like perhaps there's an even older, more evil power afoot or to be unearthed like dinosaurs.
So we have reptilians controlling the government.
God damn it.
I mean, they could be part of the same oligarchy, but you could add another layer of intrigue that way.
Now, as an aside, I do appreciate when you break down like the meaning behind these things, because it does help.
I completely agree. Now we need to add feathers to just trigger Daniel so hard.
Oh god.
Yeah. Okay, as much as I love the metaphorical, can we maybe even mix in some of the imagery of an actual dinosaur?
Yeah,
right?
I think
so. So here's what I'm thinking. We can call it like the Court of Fangs or the Court of something like that.
Court of Bones.
Court of Bones, sure. So effectively there is a giant dinosaur skull that makes up, like, everyone is like a sharp pointed person, right? And everyone makes the maw. And so I think that we should mix what is usually perceived as, savagery and violence and give that an interesting twist where this is a dinosaur god that is the god of secrets. I don't know why that's so interesting to me that a giant like T-Rex is the one who's doing this, but that to me is like really fucking interesting because it's so like left field of what we're used to.
You want dark fantasy? Their city, or wherever this takes place, was built amongst the corpse of a great, enormous dinosaur creature.
Yeah, so we got New Chromosome. Daniel, you should really read Perdido Street Station. You really should read it at some point.
I don't like him as a writer. I'm not gonna do it.
No, I know, but that's literally New Chromosome from.
It's a giant dinosaur. Oh my god.
Yeah, well, it's not a dinosaur, but it's
fine. It's dinosaur this time. So fuck you. Chromosome, whatever.
Honestly, you know what? Fuck it. I'm down with that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I like that idea. I mean, maybe that is the corpse of this god.
Yeah.
Like it was a physical entity and now it's something destroyed it and it's trying to regain that power maybe to resurrect itself.
Its bones are literally whispering to these people.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, I love what you said too about this is a civilization that's kind of been built on intelligence rather than savagery, right?
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, dinosaurs not necessarily known for their intelligence, but that's where we subvert expectations. We zag instead of zig, like
they're known for the savagery, right? And this court of intrigue is smart because they're manipulating shit.
Oh, is this like a warrior culture that they've kind of supplanted? Is that what's going on?
I didn't necessarily see that. I just meant like, oh, you mean in the past? That originally, like when the dinosaur was alive?
No, I mean like the monarchy that we have, because we've created this false monarchy. Like maybe what happens is when they buy the monarchy, right, to go back to the original premise, maybe what happens is that like, oh, there's a new fighter, and the way that like God smiles upon them is through single combat. something
Uh,
like that, and like that's how they set up these kind of political dynasties and stuff like that.
I'm not as keen on that only because like it pushes the whole thing more in a direction that's like less like less Game of Thrones has lots of violence, but you know what I mean, like less maneuvering as far as thinking is concerned, and the conquests are more about like stratagems, and it's like putting an actual fight as the succession just seems to me too
Mm.
Oh no,
too direct to the dinosaur, you know?
I'm suggesting that that's the pageantry. That's not actually what's going
Oh,
on.
okay.
The
Oh,
real
okay.
power is the political
It's just
intrigue,
a
but
ceremony.
right, because we need
I
an
see. Yeah.
excuse to get new people onto the throne, right? And the
Mhm.
way that we do that, kind of like Courtney was suggesting divine right.
Yeah.
What I'm suggesting is divine combat. Like that's
I
like
see.
how you get your
Okay.
puppet on the throne
Like a
effectively.
ceremonial thing,
I
yeah.
could see that. Like if they like fake the fight, it's like
Mhm.
completely
Exactly.
a throne
Yeah,
fight.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Right.
that that will tie into the ancient culture that perhaps this creature and the previous city belonged to,
Mm,
too.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I love our courtly intrigue and giant dinosaur bone pile. I don't know about you guys.
I can see
Yeah.
it. I can see
Yeah, I
it.
can too. I think it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, I think it works very well. It's got very Conan Dark Age like vibes to it to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you'd also brought up like the masquerade imagery earlier, and like I could
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
see these people walking around with like these elaborately like scaled and feathered masks or
Thank you
something.
for the feathers, Courtney. I was going
Yes,
to
of
add that if
course.
you didn't. So
Yeah.
yes, thank you for
And
getting
like
ahead of me.
the dino mask kind of deal
Yeah,
from
she said feathers,
bones.
Daniel. I don't know what you're getting at.
How dare you? How dare
All right. So I think that we've given this a good, clean go through. So let's go ahead and roll another jam. How y'all feel about that?
Mhm. Let's do it.
All right. So same rules apply. We're going to go ahead and roll the die for the twist. Oh, no, wait, not the twist. Oh, no. My brain, you guys, my brain. The genre. We're looking for the genre. And our genre this time is occult detective. Ooh, that's going to be fun. I feel like we don't get the detective ones enough, or maybe we do and I just forget, but whatever. The theme surrounding this occult detective is, well, okay, I'm not going to do mystery for an occult detective. That's pretty fucking obvious. Okay, we're going to re-roll that. So the new theme for the occult detective is going to be pain.
Mm.
So we've got pain, an occult detective story, and the first thing that we're focusing on is a weapon. All right. Pretty straightforward. Daniel, you started us off last time. So, Courtney, what is your first thoughts on an occult detective story with a theme of pain focusing on a weapon? What kind of weapon
Um,
is it, Courtney?
I mean, I'm definitely picturing like a pistol, given that it's a detective kind of thing.
Oh yeah, you got to do like a revolver even, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I wonder if it's like something about the weapon causes some immense pain for this person using it. Like they have to use it to maybe take down these occult beings.
Mm,
If it's like ghosts or like paranormal entities or monsters or something, but in using it, it like causes them pain or
mm.
harm.
I was literally going to say he shoots ghosts, but
He shoots ghosts.
yeah, just shoots them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, I've actually got an interesting conceit for you here. There's
Mhm.
a great comic series called 100 Bullets. In it, there is this woman who, I'm not going to spoil or go into it too much, but effectively, a government agency gives her 100 bullets and says, any of these that we find in a body, we will not, no questions asked, look into the murder whatsoever. We will make it go away.
Mm.
So, what is interesting to me about this particular conceit is that what we have here is a limited resource for dealing with these occult creatures and beings and stuff like that. And I think that what's going on is that this is this person's pain poured into the literal casings of these bullets. And I don't know what that means yet, but
I was
that's
gonna
what I've
ask.
got going on. But that's kind of
Okay.
what I'm going with. I think that's like a fun way to start looking at it.
Mhm.
I also, when you were both talking, like, was thinking when I heard the premise about like the detective in some way managing some kind of really intense psychic pain or trauma, and that's
Mhm.
what's driving them. And
Oh,
so the idea of perhaps the weapon containing it in some way is interesting. I wonder if, since you're saying it might be divided amongst the bullets, I don't know if how close you want to like go to that other concept that is one that's already published, but perhaps the idea of like the weapon carries past actions that cause this person pain.
Mm.
And so the use
mm,
of it hurts them because it brings them flashbacks of what happened. Like maybe, for example, they don't know the full truth. And so in the use of the weapon, it's slowly leaking out that truth and it hurts them to learn more and more what they actually are, what they've actually done in this
Oh.
mystery. Like maybe the
oh.
mystery is an inward kind of thing of them discovering who they are.
What if the detective is also a ghost and they're learning about the
Oh.
things that they did in their life?
Oh,
That's fun.
I like that. That's weird.
Yeah. All right, so there's a game called Ghost Trick where you're a ghost and a detective who has to solve their own murder. So that's
Mm.
kind of like the
Uh-huh.
vibe I'm getting from this, except I like the idea that we can kind of make it so you're also a complete bastard. So maybe like part of the detective work is that no one wants to help you, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so when you're shooting these bullets, or maybe when you're like reliving this pain, you also have to atone in some way, or like
Mhm.
there's a redemptive arc in like overcoming this pain or something like that. I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
So it's like Disco Elysium, but you're dead already.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we think about how this would work metaphysically, right? So, a gun kills. Does this spectral weapon, maybe it is a spectral representation of something else. It seems to be a representation of this person's sins, but the use of it, does it kill other ghosts permanently? Like, what does it do when I fire this gun?
Great question. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
if we
Mm.
have pain bullets, like what does that look like, right?
Yeah. Does it like eliminate my past memories? Like, am I hunting down my old sins and killing them? Is that what I'm doing?
Oh, hold on,
That's
hold on.
interesting.
Okay. Oh my God, those are all such good ideas. Okay, so yes, you use the bullets to shoot your literal manifested sins, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
But the only way that you can load this gun and use these bullets is by atoning for them or making something right in the world.
Oh,
So when you
Yeah.
yeah.
try and like, I'm assuming it's a revolver, right? When you
Mhm.
try
Mhm.
and like reload or I don't know the fucking terminology, guys. I'm sorry, I'm not a gun person. But when you try and like flip out the six chamber, right? Like it's locked. It's like literally locked into place. And you can have like little chains around it or something like that if you want a visual metaphor. But like realistically, you literally cannot fire the gun
Mhm.
until you've atoned for these. And then that's where the ammunition becomes accessible.
Mhm.
That's a cool concept because like you're hunting down these things, and I could imagine this person being frustrated once they get into a situation where like they just want to end something or resolve something very quickly, but first they basically have to do like a internal therapy session with themselves to
Yeah.
like overcome the guilt of their own actions and
Literally
Build a
killing your
chamber.
own demons. Yeah,
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 to
absolutely.
build a
yeah,
chamber, like, you have to muster the ammunition to defeat your previous sin or trauma,
Mhm.
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely. And then, of course, okay, I'm going to go super dark with it. The last demon that you have to face is yourself because
Of
you
course.
committed suicide.
Oh, that's cool, yeah.
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 Well, I just love it visually because I can see this as, like, a Planescape adventure, or it's like, what are some of the other ones that happen, like, in this other like, what's that movie with Robin Williams?
What dreams may come.
Yeah, it's like got this, like,
Mm.
alternate reality kind of
Mhm.
exploration.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Also, imagine being such a complete and total multiplanar bastard that when you kill yourself, the sins of your past explode into the world, and it
Yeah,
is now your duty to go around and collect them, or at least like make sure that they're dead and buried, right? And the way that you
yeah.
do that is through self-exploration, as Courtney kind of suggested, is through therapy, basically.
Mhm.
Mhm. And this could be even like one way you could present this as a setting is if you were writing a story or something, is this is the voyage, which might be styled in different ways, that every dying person embarks upon. It's the
Right.
investigation that every person has to do when they die. It just happens to be styled as a noir kind of detective adventure because perhaps this person was a detective, and that's why it's styled this
Mhm.
way. But the idea
Sure.
is that you have to hunt down your previous traumas and deal with the things that are haunting your psyche before you can move on as a spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to play this video game,
I know, it
honestly.
sounds very cool. I could
Mhm.
also see it as, like, you weren't a detective, you were, like, a hitman or something like that, but
Oh yeah.
Sure,
in
sure, yeah.
your afterlife, you make yourself out to be a detective because that's the more
Mhm.
noble,
Mhm.
route.
That's even better. I
Yeah,
love
and then
that.
you, of course,
Mm.
find out what you were, and it's, like, a shocking moment.
Yeah, I like the idea of, like, incidental detective, like, "Oh, I was
Mhm.
not equipped for this," and actually, the detecting, right, is what in fact forces you to interrogate your own,
Mhm.
interactions and demons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
also
so
the idea
cool.
of it being like this voyage into the afterworld is kind of like the swan song. It's like the last ringing in your ear that you
Right,
hear as your
right.
Mhm.
spirit goes out. You know, it's
Yeah.
this all of in that moment you have to make sense of all this. You know, as your brain is dying.
And metaphorically, there's so many ways that you can express that as well. Like
Hmm.
you could have it be like a train or a boat,
Yeah.
and like mind you, not just like a steamboat, right? But you can also do like a rowboat, like you're going all the way back to like Charon, right? Like and stuff like that. Or like, oh, it's the last flight out of Monaco or Casablanca or whatever, right? Like there's so many rich metaphors that you can be like, this is your way home. You have to earn passage onto boat, train, plane, carriage, etc. Right?
Yeah. It, reminds me of in The Leftovers, I don't wanna spoil stuff too much, but basically there's a very surreal portion where a character sort of experiences a different existence and they're given a choice of, like, in this scenario, do you wanna be an international assassin? Do you wanna be a cop? And there are a couple other things, and, like, based on that choice, they interact with the world in a different way, interact with the
Mm,
scenario in a different way. So I could see that being similar here where you, like, wake up and you have a choice of, like, do I
mhm.
wanna be a detective? Do I wanna be the hitman that I actually was? Do I wanna be this other whatever? And you kinda go from there.
Oh, so you choose who you want to be? Is that what you're trying to argue
Or
here?
it's like your psyche is kind of given a choice of, like, who do you wanna act like in this experience that you're about to go through? Or what do you think you are deep down?
Hmm.
Something like that.
Are those what the demons manifest as? Like what you think you are? Like their self-reflections or something, or like who you could have been, their
Ooh.
possibilities, maybe?
I think the manifestations are your sins, but what you're saying, I think, Courtney, is that the role you're playing in the voyage is the choice you're making as to how to represent yourself, even though it may not be
Yeah.
accurate, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Are you basically choosing a class at that point?
Kind
Like
of, yeah,
if we're
Maybe,
yeah.
yeah,
approaching it
maybe.
like an RPG,
Uh-huh.
right? Like you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to play the story by kicking down doors and beating up bad
Uh-huh.
guys. Like,
Mhm.
It's the story you tell yourself, right? Like, it makes me
Yeah.
think,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
if I was a hitman and I'm a jerk and I murdered a lot of people, the story I tell myself is, at least for this particular person, is like, I was a detective, I was doing the righteous thing, I was doing
Right.
what I had
Mhm.
to, right? So you play
Yeah.
this, like, strong, noir, hypermasculine detective, right? But you find out
Mhm.
that you're actually just a terrible hitman. you know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I like the idea that like the more hyper masculine your choice at the beginning, the
Mhm.
more it mocks you when you get there,
Yeah.
like the more that
Yeah,
it
yeah.
challenges
Uh-huh.
that, like
It shows that you're a coward and you need to do, yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
all
yeah,
that stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like what like your class obviously forces you to pick what you're choosing to confront in your sins effectively, right?
Mhm.
Because okay, hold on. Okay. We're making a video game here, folks. We're making a full-on video game or actually a structured RPG. Okay. We call this game Six Chambers, and it's the number of guns because it's a revolver, right? We've made that happen. And then you have six sins that you have to or five sins because you have to save the last bullet for yourself. Uh but that's effectively what you're doing. You're creating five manifestations of your sin. And that's what happens. There we go. We made a video game. Someone go out there and make it. Give us $1 million, millions of dollars.
Mhm.
That's the second time this episode I've done that, but millions and millions of dollars, and we'll go make this video game. We'll make it happen. You've got a crack writing team, and me, and and we'll go make this happen right now.
Mhm, mhm. Do we still need a twist?
I don't want to do a twist. I don't want to
Yeah.
add dinosaurs to this one, guys.
I want to see what it is.
I know we're gonna,
Let's
but like
see.
I'm so concerned.
We're just gonna hit the save button right now.
Yeah, wait, hold on, Daniel. How much anime do you want to watch in this
Oh,
particular?
God help me. God help me.
Okay, so let's see. What do we got? What do we got for a twist? Let's see what we got going on here.
I can't even tell you how to define anime other than that it's stupid. I don't really know. Like, like if someone asked me, like, well, okay, dark fantasy is what, and I could tell them blah blah blah. But for anime, I'm like, it's just annoying. That's what it is. I don't know how else to tell you. It's annoying. It's a cartoon. It's an annoying
Daniel,
cartoon.
let me roll the die so I can get the twist. Come on. All right, the twist is, throw the story into the past or future.
Oh.
Hmm.
So add dinosaurs. Okay.
Kind of. So, I mean, technically we can do this, right? Because if you go, because we're dealing with 5 sins, right? That we have to approach. These are all like different functions in your history. So maybe when you go back to the origin point of that sin, effectively, right?
Mhm.
So in this story, you're time traveling through your life, but we're also, I think it'd be more interesting if it wasn't entirely apparent, right away. So like
Yeah.
maybe make it a really caricatured version or a really metaphorical vision of that moment in your life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like it's put through a very strong, in this case, like detective noir filter. So like let's say
Mm,
you have a memory of like this guy was, I don't know, a young kid and he's remembering like his parents having a violent fight or something. And in his mind, it's gonna be like not his parents anymore, but these like two attractive noirish figures, and they're like
I
having a
believe
very
you're looking
dramatic.
for femme fatale, Courtney.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And yeah, they're having this like dramatic screaming match, and it's not something that this person would immediately go like, "Oh yeah, that's
Mm,
my mom and dad," but it's more like how
yeah.
they're seeing them in this moment.
It's 2 lounge singers who are arguing over who gets to, like be the diva for that night, or who really deserves to be the top billed singer. And in reality, it's actually like a fight your parents had about who has custody over you in the divorce or
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe that's the type of metaphor that we can kind of really dig into and stuff like that.
Mhm. I like that. And of course, they're both like drinking martinis and throwing stuff at each other and all that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, there's shade and
Mhm.
like, although yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time unless you're not into that. But if it's, whew. All right, well, we successfully dodged a bad, or not a bad, but a potentially thorny twist with that one. I'm
Wow,
quite
anime,
happy.
exactly. We dodged it.
Hold on. Do we even have anime left on this list? Let me take a look.
Oh,
We might
please,
have
God,
used it this
no.
cycle. Hold on. Let me see. Let me see. No, Daniel, you're in the clear. We've already used
Yes.
anime for this cycle.
Hooray.
Now, hold on though, because oh
Uh-oh.
no, we've still got quite a few twists left on this list,
Hmm.
so we're good for a while, and we haven't gotten your new one yet, the one that you personally added into this. So we'll
Oh, I
see how that
added one?
goes.
I don't even know
Yeah,
that.
it's called "Throw a Dance Party," and then in parentheses, Daniel Quinn is to blame.
Oh, god damn it. How did I do that?
I don't
I
remember
don't
that at all.
remember, but it's
God
in
damn it.
there, and I'm very happy
Mm.
to
I
see
hate
your own
dance
twist.
parties. How the hell did I put that in there?
I don't know, but you did it. It says Daniel
Oh,
Quinn is to blame, so I'm assuming it's
horrible.
your fault. I don't know why I
Horrible.
would lie to myself. All right, y'all. I'm gonna call it there. That was a hell of a ride. I had a ton of fun with these 2 jams. Honestly, I want to play both of these, whether they're a video game or an RPG, or maybe even just someone write a novel. Steal these ideas, make novels out of
Yes,
them.
please do.
Yeah, give us some royalties, just a little bit, but or at least invite us to the Hollywood premiere, something like that. You know what I mean? Um, but with all that said and done, a big thank you to all of our listener callback for no, seriously though, a big thank you to all of our listeners, and a particularly big thank you to all of our patrons for your continued support. Remember that on our regular episodes, if you want us to build your world, you can always go to our website, worldbuildwithus.com, where you can click the link, follow the instructions, and within a reasonable amount of time, we'll be building your world. If you want to follow us on social media, we're still on Twitter over on Let's World Build. at Let's World Build. Yeah, there we go. Or if you feel like chatting with us in particular, or you want to kind of work out the legal dealings of our upcoming movie / video game / RPG, whatever, you can go to our Discord and DM us there, or just maybe just drop a question in the box. That's fine too. If you're feeling particularly generous, you can always go to our Patreon with a link for that in the description and on our website, where you can give us money, and in return, you'll get access to all sorts of sweet, sweet patron-only goodies, including patron-only episodes, a patron-only Discord channel, and double length on your prompts, among other cool things. But those are the baseline ones, right? I'm pretty sure I'm missing some that are really important and people that would really want. But if you're interested, if you're like, hey, I want to give these cool people some money, you can go to our Patreon and look at the whole list of cool things that you get by doing so. And with all of that said, that's going to do it for this episode of World Build with us. Remember that we love you very much, and we're going to get through this together. Until next week.